Hi, I'm Marcus.
And I'm Rami.
And this is the podcast where we try and figure out what this podcast is about
and what we're doing with our lives.
This week, we're going to be talking to Ciara Peter, VP of Product and Design at Medallia, about all things work from home, booking a trip at the flip of a hat, and the great resignation.
This was a really, really fun chat. Hope you enjoy it.
Hey, guys.
Hey, there you are. Now we can. That is crispy. How are we doing, Ciara?
Yeah,
that's
good.
Much better.
Good. Now I get to go back and.
You got your classy background. Love it.
Yeah, I get to show off my accomplishments. I put up wallpaper and I bought a lamp during the pandemic.
That was it.
Yeah, that was basically it.
Job done.
This is surprise room radar. Talk us through it. This is excellent.
That's
the projects.
Yeah. The wallpaper.
100%.
I almost got.
So the wallpaper was pretty difficult. I enlisted the help of my parents, but there's a great company called Flavor Paper, and they make amazing backgrounds. Like one of my favorites, they do like East Coast hip hop artists and West Coast hip hop artists. So you'll see like West Coast will be like E40 and Mac Dre, and it's like a very classy looking paper. You know, East Coast will have Biggie and stuff like that. But did that, planted a garden. One day I just decided to go out back, and I moved in this place like 6 months before pandemic started, and it had some like dead trees and bricks. And one day I just went out there and I was like, started pulling bricks out of the ground, because it was like, you know, I was working with teams in India at that time. And so I start my day at 7 a.m. and it was 3 p.m. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I just started ripping bricks out of the ground. And I learned to use some power tools. So it was
That's amazing.
I feel like you were taking your frustration out on the digital world on the physical one right there, just ripping bricks and power tools.
Yeah, and there's the dumpster is like I can throw all the stuff over the wall. So I also did a little workout, like maybe how old school Olympians might do. And I don't know, I'm sure there was some kind of sport where you throw a heavy object.
Yeah, like a shock put, like that one. If you spin around before you do it, then you're legit. Yeah, you just hope that your neighbors aren't there. So we're not. So let me do the welcome to the podcast. This is so much better because on the last one there was like a 5-second delay and we couldn't even say hello to each other. First of all, why don't we? I was trying to think about exactly when I met you. So I was talking to Rami about this last week. How did we meet?
There was some company that was doing like networking meetups. I forget what they were called. But basically it was. A company would sponsor, they'd say, hey, I want to find buyers, basically. Like I want to find some software buyers, potential buyers of my product. So they would put together a really nice dinner kind of networking conversation, and just these people would get together. And so a former colleague of mine, she worked for them. She said, hey, Ciara, you want to get some product people together? And your name came up, and I think we just met through like a networking dinner.
It was super as well. Like I can't remember the name of the company either, so I can't have been. But It was good though, right? I feel like there's a couple of those companies that what they do is you end up in this like kind of nice chic venue with like 8 to 12 people, just kind of chatting producty stuff, and have a nice meal and talk to people who are in the trenches with you. I don't know. I kind of like those things, but anyway,
it's funny. Like I wonder what the ROI, I'm not going to try to do math, but I wonder what the ROI of those things are. There was a long period of time, maybe it'll start again. There's this long period of time where none of that happened. And I remember VC firms did it all the time. They'd drop probably like $4,000 or $5,000 on one of these dinners just to, kind of build up their network. And I don't think they've happened in a while.
Right.
And that was actually like why I was so excited to talk to you guys, because I realized I used to probably do too much networking, because it just became habit. But now I do so little, and I miss it.
Yeah. There was always something being in the city, like a product conference or something on during the week, or I'm the same. Even the last event I went to was like Products That Count. It was on like, it was COVID had hit. I was not working at work anymore. And I still, we kind of closed the office and I still went to this event like on a Wednesday. Seems weird that I did that now, but it was like the last event and everybody was like, I don't know what's going to happen. It's like 100 product managers in a bar.
Kind of like,
but yeah, we'd never see it again.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. Thinking I did that now is weird, but at the time, none of us kind of really knew. I don't know. Well, I certainly didn't know that it was probably the last networking event I would go to, So, yeah. Weird. Super weird. That's my memory as well. I couldn't remember if we'd met beforehand because our companies worked together on a kind of a product partnership, but I couldn't remember if we met before that or after it or kind of what was. I do remember the dinner as being the thing that kind of we were sitting next to each other at the dinner, and that's kind of how I got to know you. But anyway,
yeah.
You touched on something there. Tell us a bit about your career. So one of the things, Rami, you might not have seen this. So Ciara posted on LinkedIn, I want to say a year ago, in the last 12 months, something like that, about her career and kind of what got her from, not being in tech to being, a VP of product. And it got something like 600,000 views, something like that on LinkedIn. So tell us your story and kind of tell us about that LinkedIn post.
Yeah. So I started working in the industry in 2008, and I'll talk about how I got into it, but I was in an organization with a lot of extremely accomplished people for their age. They just finished up their MBAs at Stanford and Cal, and they were just like go-getters. I felt like an imposter because I went to art school and kind of like didn't have that pedigree. And so I spent the first probably 6-7 years of my career being like, just faking it till I made it. Fake it till I make it. And it worked. It worked great. I got a lot of promotions and opportunities and all that. And I don't regret it. But at some point, I'm like, okay, there's this kind of persona of myself that was pretty far off from my actual personality.
Right.
And I wanted to show that anyone, if they put their mind to it, can be successful. So my background is, my parents one of them is an immigrant, and they're both artists. They were actually both professional ballet dancers. And so they started their ballet careers when they were 17, did amazing things, traveled the world with like San Francisco Ballet and Dutch National Ballet, but they didn't go to college.
Really accomplished ballet. Wow, that's wow.
Yeah, and but they didn't go to college. We didn't talk about like what's college, what's all that, and so I didn't really have a lot of aspirations there. I did well in school as a younger kid, but by the time I got to high school, I was like, I don't care. So I had a fun college experience, but by the time I got out, I'm like, I have no idea what to do with my life. And we were, I'm thankful for everything. We were middle class. We weren't poor. We didn't have, I won't go that far, but I'll say like, I had to pay for college. I had to pay for everything. Right. So in school, I'd worked retail. I started working when I was 16, worked retail jobs at the mall, did internships. I did that internship where I used AutoCAD in like 1996. But that was probably like the better job. I mean, I worked some really crappy mall jobs. I did, promo jobs, hostess jobs. I mean, $6 an hour type things that really just weren't, they're just kind of waste of time, but I had to. And then I was fortunate when I was 21, I'm like, now I can be a bartender. So I went to this bar. I went to this bar called Plum Crazy Saloon in San Diego. It's not there anymore. But I said, hey, do you guys need another Jello shot server? Like, I really want that. I just turned 21. And the manager's like, you've been coming here for 2 years. What do you mean you just turned 21? Anyway, they gave me a job and I loved it. I was like, this is like entrepreneurial. I have to invite people, build my own following. And I was able to, start making a little bit of cash. And I had my own night where I could do promos. And it was a $2 drink night. And so I'm like, well, in order to do this, I want to build like a website. I want to build flyers and give them out to people. So that's when I got all this design stuff. Turns out it was the first thing in a long time I was good at. I was pretty good at it, and I had fun. I started building websites. I built a website for my cat. I mean, who knows? I just started building websites. I'm like, this great coding stuff. Ooh, and that inspired me to go to art school. And so like the point I make there is just trying things, trying. I kept pushing and working hard. Yeah. I didn't even know what I wanted, but I knew that I had to keep working and trying. So anyway, fast forward, and I moved up here, went to art school at the Academy of Art, and it was a good experience, but I thought I was going to go into advertising, and advertising was extremely competitive at the time. Right. Probably interviewed at like 10 places and, didn't get a job. But during that time, I just took whatever opportunity I could. So one of those things was a friend of mine did a fundraiser, and he needed a website. He needed like a websiter. So I did that. And then 6 months later, he called me and said, hey, you do design still, right? We have a job on our team at Salesforce. Do you want to come?
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know what it was. Not really. And
I'm really into kind of making these websites for cats right now. So I'm not that up for it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Cats.com, I mean.
I'm busy. Actually, one of the websites that I worked on was, we called it Metro Crush. It was like pre-Tinder. It was too early for its time. It was about the 30 and the 45 in San Francisco, or like where all the kind of attractive people would be on the bus. And it was like a misconnections for those buses. But then I got the job at Salesforce, and the idea, it died. So
that's tragic. Oh my! Well, let's not have that in the episode. Let's keep that to ourselves, just in case we was spin out.
Yeah. I'm sorry for everybody who was on the 30 and 45 and didn't get to experience that technology.
Amazing. But, so, what was can we pause briefly? What was how did it work? What was it?
This Metro Crush thing?
Yeah.
It was like you choose, it's a website. This is 2007, where you say which bus was I on? Uh-huh. And then like you would list a missed connection.
And you had the CCTV footage of everyone on the bus.
I was sitting on the bus, and our eyes met, but
so
you got off at the stop.
So it's location based, and you'd say like what time you were on the bus. So it was like location based before the iPhone had apps. Yeah. So I could have been something.
Yeah, for sure.
This was amazing. Uber. You were so close to being Uber right there.
Uber, it's like everything. It's a hybrid. Yeah.
So I got hired as a contractor at Salesforce, and I was like, oh my gosh, these people are paying me like a living wage. And I just started working my ass off. I was like, oh my gosh, who am I? Why am I here? And I just worked, and also took advantage of the opportunity because there was this company 10x in size in the 5 years I was there, and it was just incredible. So I know like kind of a long lead up, but I just like to tell the story because I'm like, I'm pretty normal. I'm just kind of like a person that, because people would be like, wow, Ciara, you're so accomplished, and like, how do you do it? I'm like, I do it because I have been literally practicing and struggling for like 15 years, and then finally like, or 10 years since I was a teenager, like serving people ice cream, like just happened.
It is, it's grounding. I love that. Yeah, awesome. So, so we didn't tell you this. So we are the 19th most listened to tech podcast in Ireland. Yeah. So for that mass of Irish listeners, what do you do right now?
Okay. Well, first of all, we can change my name to Ciara. because I know that that's the appropriate Gaelic.
Irish people will start. No, it's not the appropriate way, but I think I probably did call you that when I first met you. Yeah.
I thought for sure. So what do we do now? So I work at Medallia, and we're a customer experience company. So like a lot of people know Medallia for doing surveys, but really like the focus has been on the analytics and kind of like, what do you do with that information over the last 5 years?
Yep.
So I have 2 jobs. I don't know how I just keep getting myself into this situation. So one of my jobs is heading product for our employee experience product,
right?
Which is, there's employee surveys and all these things that have existed forever. There's also signals of what are you actually doing with your time? Who do you work with? Like all these different phases through what's happening in onboarding? How are you feeling right now? The weekly pulse.
Right.
We have a crowdsourcing product, so you can crowdsource ideas. So it's kind of like modernizing the employee experience piece. So I lead product for that. But then I also I also lead our global design team.
A little hard doing 2 jobs, no doubt.
Because they're not adjacent, right? If it was like, hey, here's one product and you're going to head up the designers and PMs for this one product. It's like, okay, we're kind of thinking that, doing the same thing. But I think I've gotten good at delegating.
Yeah, you have to. We
she conspiratorial.
We are the second Medallia person we've had on. So we had a mate of ours, Dave Lambert, on last week. He's from Australia, and he didn't mention a single thing about Medallia. He just talked about smoking meats on a Traeger barbecue. It was such a classy Aussie interview that he talked for about 45 minutes, Rami, right? And it was literally about smoking meats, and that was it.
In fairness, we called him up without any warning and just said, what do you want to talk about? First thing on his mind. What has he been talking about? Yeah. It wasn't.
Well, who is this guy? I should say hi to him. What's he work on?
I think he's like head of ANZ now.
Okay.
Like his name is Dave Lambert. We'll connect you via technology. Will make it happen.
Yeah,
we'll use
I'm gonna name. I'll name drop you guys because actually, interestingly enough, ANZ, one of my products is like especially popular there, and I want to figure out why.
Is it Dreamweaver 2.0? Is it the next?
So it's going to be huge.
Metro Crush, isn't it? Can we go back to the employee experience story? Because the sort of data you must be seeing across, like in aggregate, I don't know what sort of data you can see, but is it teaching you something about the employee experience?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's really like, so there's a couple things to look for. One is diversity and inclusion. So there's certain, basically everything starts with a survey, right? Like the company, like Medallia would be like, no, we're not like a survey company, like don't start there. But like a lot of it is, you have to start with data, right? And a lot of that data comes from a survey.
Right.
So you'll have these like 50 questions on an employee survey. If it's more frequent, maybe you'll have like 5. But think of like the twice annual survey.
Yeah.
50 questions and like maybe 5 themes within those questions. Sometimes you get it and ask the same question over and over again. So it looks for trends there, but it also looks like within the population. So for example, how are women rating this particular, area versus men, or, certain populations. There's a lot of like confidentiality that you have to think about when it comes to this, which is very different from a customer survey because, you don't want managers to find out who's saying that. But that's one thing. There's another thing, like employee experience starts before you actually become an employee.
Right.
So it's like during the recruiting process, we have products called, like one of them is called Zingle, which was an acquisition, which is a SMS. So we think about like, how do you actually reach people at the right way at the right time? So if you're just starting an interview process, you're not going to want to take an email survey. It's like, you guys called me up, you want me to talk to you, and now I have to fill out an email survey.
Like, and how honest are you going to be at that stage anyway? You're trying to either get a job or you're not interested. I mean, I feel like you're not in, yeah.
It can be, that can be pretty annoying, but so kind of helping people, like, actually, so what we do with that product is not even a survey product. It's we send you like, hey, can we help you? It's like a conversation. Can we help you find the place, things like that. But then you'll get asked a question at the end.
Right.
Attrition, like, or when you're leaving a company. So you want to look across the whole spectrum, basically,
right,
at what's happening throughout that time. I think the most interesting thing is concept of organizational network analysis, which basically takes data from your email, from your calendar, used to be like badge data, and anonymizes it. And sort of when you match that up with your survey data, you can really find out a lot of interesting things.
Super interesting.
Who works together? Who are the actual influencers in the organization?
Right.
Why is this person working with all of these? This person works with these people, but they're not in the org together. Should there be a reorganization? What kind of like skills are put together? What kind of skills is your team composed of? Which you can get from like a competencies questionnaire. What kind of skills is your team made of? Is everybody homogenous and exactly the same? What days? And here's an interesting thing about hybrid, like. Based on who you actually interact with, maybe your scrum team or something and not your org, what days should certain groups come into the office?
Yeah, brilliant.
Versus others. Like if you're going to come in twice a week, where do we put people in hoteling desks?
Right.
So
we need that right now. Literally, everyone's starting to work.
You guys are going to the office?
Everyone's starting to work. We're literally trying to work Tuesdays, Wednesdays. We're negotiating which team should come in. How are we going to do this hybrid thing?
What's the Stripe story, Rami? Like Google just announced this week that everybody's coming back 3 days a week. Good news, everyone, 3 days a week. What's Stripe do?
Yeah, all the FANGs I think are doing like compulsory RTO 3 days, and they're setting the pace. Stripe has not done a compulsory RTO. We're all still remote and volunteering the whole thing. Yet, last week was the first time I went back into the office. It was like being back at school. Literally kind of like a gazelle walking.
Not sure,
in,
should you be drinking beer or
how do I log in? How do I line up at the kitchen? But you just like all of the things around hybrid, working through them, norms. We're all literally relearning everything.
Right.
Here's a weird thing about going back to office. So I haven't been back to an office yet. I think we might reopen in April. But I think the strategy is going to be like, I went to a social event a couple of weeks ago and I saw somebody I knew and I hadn't seen in several years. And we started chit-chatting. He goes, yeah, I know it's kind of awkward. Like nobody's like talked in person, so don't worry about it. And I was like, I didn't even realize I was being awkward. So And so my strategy when we go back to the office, and especially like I haven't even met so many of my colleagues in person. I started working there a year ago.
Yeah.
My strategy is going to be just pretend it never happened. I was gonna be like,
hey,
what's up, Bob?
Hey, how was your weekend?
How's it going? Yeah, cheers to the coffee kind of thing.
There was
I don't know what else to do.
Hey.
Or like, what happens when you're in a room with people? Like, where do you look? What did we used to look at? Like,
so crazy.
You know what? A couple of people who I've met a couple of people once or twice during the pandemic who are new hires, and the thing that freaked me out was the side of their head. I know that I did. It was weird because you're used to this, but I was sitting next to them and they were eating a sandwich and I looked over and I was like, that's weird. That's just, it was like, I just wasn't expecting you to have a side profile. Like, that's so crazy, isn't it? Like,
Most requested feature on Google Meets is give me the height. Show me the height on Google Meet next to it, because that's the biggest, like you get there. You're a 7-foot giant.
And I've met some people and I've always gotten this is you look tall, you're much taller in person than I thought. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? what does a short person act like?
Yeah. And you're like adjusting your camera angle to be right on the floor now, just to give you the full.
Yeah. Hey, everyone, I have a presence. Okay. Like I have a physical presence. I'm very charismatic. Here I am.
It was fun being back in the office. I got the pleasure of kicking someone out of a meeting room. That's how fun it was.
Yeah, you're proper back.
It was
proper.
back on. It was really on.
It's
Everyone's scrambling. Oh, excuse
sorry,
me.
sorry.
No, you got 2 minutes. You're fine.
I'm not ready for that yet. Okay.
Can we go back 1 sec to the two strands on your employee experience? One is AI for reorgs. I love the potential of being able to go, here's who's talking to who, therefore your org should look like this. I mean, at the rate of some reorgs in some companies, we could do it much more efficiently. That sounds
be a weekly thing. Yeah.
It would be.
Yeah.
Already is in some places we worked at. So that sounds super cool. The other is, I'm wondering what the data's looked like over the last 2 years. Is it like a Richter scale where it's just like an earthquake and it's all over the place? Great resignation style?
Yeah. Well, people are trying to figure out why people are leaving. And I think they're just seeing different trends. It's like, for example, communication is an interesting trend. People say they don't feel connected to the organization because you don't have as many all hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not in the same place. And so it's interesting. I found like companies are having, when they start to dissect it and they see the information, they start to see that they're just having fewer meetings and having fewer all hands and just far less communication in general. Doesn't really inherently make sense because you can schedule as many meetings, but I think it's part of it's people are taking advantage of like reclaiming their time. I love that Maxine Waters, she's like, I'm reclaiming my time. So people are reclaiming their time, but also some of the things we saw as like common practice, like you got to have one-on-ones with your people every week. Like it's pretty easy to just erase just kind of magically silently remove something from your calendar. You don't have those in-person connections. So that's a pretty interesting one. But you know what? I'm going to tell you guys the truth. You know why I work on HR products and employee experience products? Because being an employee going through HR process just sucks. Like it's like the worst part of the job.
Yeah.
And so my whole thing, like I worked at a company before, we were early stage startup and we had investors from the gaming industry and they're like, you got to get people daily active usage. And I'm like, hold on. People should not be interacting with HR software on a daily basis. Like
that's
if they do, then they have a problem. And it really like influences what you're going to design. Because like rather than building notifications, trying to get people into this app that really was like more of a monthly or quarterly usage app, once I was able to convince the team that we should maybe change our metric, then we focused on like reminding people what to do when they came back. And that's great. So like what I'm really thinking about, yes, there's interesting data and I'm not trying to like dodge the question, but what I'm really thinking about is like, how do we make it so simple for people to just do this mandatory HR stuff that is never fun? So like we have a 360 feedback thing we're building and like, it's such a commodity, but we're thinking about like what we're building is, can you do a conversational 360 where it says, hey, Marcus, we see that you work with Rami. How can you can you answer a couple questions? And I might say, here's question 1, rating scale 1 to 10. Like you might just pick a thing. And
feel free to run it now.
Just move on with your life, right?
Run the survey now as a perf. I like to see this real time, just in case you.
Yeah, or another thing that is interesting. Is like video feedback. So we have this video technology, and video feedback is kind of weird in the HR sense, but something that we found is like, actually it's really democratizing because we have people that work on the front lines. Like you think of employee experience and performance management, stuff like that. You think of it for desk workers, But our customers have all these people that are on the front lines. So they have a combination of the desk workers and in-person workers. And what we found is that with video feedback, non-English speakers, I think people like Spanish, I think it was a Spanish speaking cohort. They used to have a translator come in and talk to every individual. And that was super expensive because these were hourly workers. So there was a lot of turnover there. So not only was it expensive, but you didn't really get feedback from most people because they worked there for 8-9 months, something like that. So what video allowed them to do is actually give their feedback to the company, and then it transcribes it, and then it pulls out text analytics to see the trends there. So those are the things I think are interesting, is just make it dead simple. Tell people the trends about themselves, because no matter how good 360 feedback is, people aren't going to be, they're not always going to be honest because politics.
Right.
But you can still kind of read between the lines. You can see, sentiment. You can kind of understand trends. I think that's pretty interesting. And just like automating a lot of it. That I would find to be pretty innovative and exciting.
Are you pro perf or anti perf every 3 months?
My personal point of view?
Yeah.
I'm pro perf every 3 months because, I'm pro. Actually, the best thing that I ever did was like, sort of did like monthly conversation, and it was like upward and downward feedback, and you'd answer a couple questions. So I actually am like pro monthly, honestly, because a lot of managers just aren't trained, or maybe they just don't think that aspect of management is important. And I think it forces the conversation. No matter how good we get at coaching, managers, like, you can't coach everyone. And especially someone has a team of, some sales leader has a team of 25 people, or maybe an engineering leader, like maybe they don't have the best interpersonal skills. Not to generalize. No,
not a stereotype. Yeah.
I am totally stereotyping, but product managers, we're on the fence too.
Sure.
They're just not going to naturally do that. So sometimes you need a script. Sometimes people just feel awkward, especially new managers who get promoted slightly above people who they were their peers.
Right.
I know that when I became a manager for the first time, there were a couple of people on my team that were really kind of the same level and, different experiences. And I felt pretty weird coaching them at all and asking them questions at all. So I think sometimes for new managers, frontline managers, it has to be forced. So I am pro frequent conversations. I think the annual review, we all know the annual review is for compliance purposes.
Yeah. Awesome. Tell me, going back to some of the stuff you're talking about digging stones from your garden and throwing them over the fence and decorating your house. One of the things you said that you could talk about would be like some work from home hacks. I'm really keen on what those hacks might be. So what are some of the things that have kind of you've discovered?
Yeah, no, work from home hack is just kind of surprise people every once in a while with something. So like show up in a onesie, for example. It kind of gets the conversation going. I dress down so much, but I'll say, like, I did a presentation for the product organization yesterday. I put on a collared shirt and it felt great. Like, this is a little bit deeper than just how to work from home, but it's back to what we were talking about, where we don't see people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have anyone telling me, like, I don't have anyone saying like, Ciara, you're awesome. Or like, sometimes you work on things that you just have to do as part of your job, and you don't necessarily get to do some things that you really enjoy doing. So like, I'm finally getting to focus a little bit on product-led growth in my job, but it's been a while. So I did a talk on it, and I put on a collared shirt. I did my hair and my makeup, and I just got ready, and I just came with confidence. And like, I don't usually do that. Usually I'm just kind of sitting here like,
Yeah.
Whatever. Like you guys just, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. We're cool. Like, we're cool. I'm doing my job. We have trust. We like each other. But I'm thinking back, like, sometimes we have to remind ourselves that there are things we like doing that we're good at that aren't part of our job. And we kind of have to force it, I think, in the work from home scenario. So that just yesterday, just getting ready, coming with confidence. I don't stand here. I sit here. I sit here like next to the cat litter and like the door. And
best
so
seat in the house. Yeah.
It's forcing. Yeah, it's really forcing it. But another thing that I think about is I live in a loft. It's just a big space. And sometimes we don't want to go to work, but it's like the worst when you're kind of in your workspace and then you wake up. Sometimes I wake up and I'm just like, like I wake up and I'm in the office pretty much. And so I've been working a lot on just kind of creating that separation. And I know it's not easy for everyone. It's not even easy for me because it's one space. Right. But I'm taking extra effort to create that separation in kind of like not bringing the computer upstairs and being super specific about that.
Right.
That's something that works for me. And I think here's another one. We forget that we used to commute. We used to take all this time. And I think that a lot of people experience guilt for let's say you have an hour commute. So you used to wake up 7 a.m., spend a half hour getting ready, depends on maybe you have a kid situation, but you're kind of doing something for an hour, getting prepared. Then you have an hour to drive. Then you're in the office and you kind of like waste some time during the day. You're like chatting with people. It's not a waste of time.
You don't even realize it, right? You're like,
lunch. Yeah. And then by the time you get home, it's 6 or 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we don't have to spend that much time on work, like on the whole workday these days. And so I really encourage people, like my regular work is like I work from 7 to 3. I take a break and either go to the gym or take a nap or something. And then I come back online and do an hour of email, but I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah.
More work time than we used to spend when we're in the office. And so like, I'm just a big proponent. I just tell people, like, just go offline. And I try to be really conscious of when I'm scheduling for people on my team, because if they have a big block, an empty block, like I refuse to be that manager to just plops a one-on-one
in the middle
of a 3-hour work block. It's so, it's so unproductive.
Yeah. So. Super interesting. Yeah. I remember one of the things I remember you telling me was when we met was you went on this amazing vacation that you had, like, you basically, this is my memory of it. This is probably totally wrong. You basically saw a photo of like out the window of a restaurant. I feel like it was Tibet or something, or like there was a beautiful mountain in the background. And you're like, you just called, you basically like went online and just booked flights there immediately and took a vacation there. So I have this thing of, travel is important to you, or something that you used to do before. So first of all, is my memory right at all? But I thought that was one of your stories when we went for that dinner.
Your memory is totally right.
Great.
So I'm gonna find a picture here.
Was it Tibet or it was somewhere with mountains?
Nepal.
Nepal.
It was Nepal.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I saw a picture. I recreated it myself. This is the recreation, but basically this is a photo I saw online. Wow. And I was like, I don't know what this place is.
I'm going there right now.
I have to go there. And I looked it up, and this place was, cause okay, I'm an only child. I am an independent person.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends and I have people that I can travel really well with, but I'm an introvert too, 51% introvert, 49% extrovert, and I need my alone time. So I prefer solo travel unless there's some, we're going to a party or like something else.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just need to be alone and experience things. And I hadn't gone on a trip for a while. And so I went to Nepal, and this place was amazing. It was like kind of you could pick your own adventure. So like some people, there's like a newlywed adventure. There was like a spa adventure, a yoga adventure. And I picked the spa one because I was like,
no brainer. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And it was, so there are a couple profound things that happened there. So one is, so anyone thinking about traveling, like if you're going to kind of a bougie place in Nepal, basically, if it's this time of year and you can't see the Himalayas super clearly, the place is going to be empty. Like people who travel there know. So I happened to be there. I don't care. So I happened to be there when all the kind of people that knew this secret, 3 of the days it was foggy. The place was pretty empty. I met with this Ayurvedic doctor, and because they give you a doctor on the first day and they kind of recommend your program. So Dr. Roshan and I met, and he figured out what my Ayurvedic kind of like energy is. Southeastern philosophy. So he's like, stick out your tongue. Okay, let me see this. Let me see your eye. So there's like a Vata, a Pitta, and I forget what the other one is. It's energy. So he said, and I was deciding on like a new job, and I was kind of in flux. I'm like, I don't know what to do. He's like, well, you're Pitta. Basically, Pitta's fire. And he goes, and you have some air going in there too. So like, you're a hot mess, like just like total combustion. And so he recommended,
amazing.
Yeah. So he recommended this program for me, and it was pretty cool. But I actually ended up getting a tattoo of the Ayurvedic herbs that are good for the Pitta, which are calming, which are calming to those who have a natural kind of fire energy. But the week was amazing. I mean, he just kind of like followed me around because he didn't have other people to work with, and we just tried stuff. They're like, "Want to try Reiki? Okay, sure, why not? Let's do some yoga. Okay, why not?" And then there was a sound bath, a sound healing kind of thing, and I go in this round metal room. This guy walks in, doesn't speak a word of English. He kind of examines me. He's like 120 years old. I mean, I don't know what's going on. And he places these bowls on top of me as the ones that were like, make those cool sounds. And this guy was such an expert that like, you guys are gonna think I'm crazy. That's okay. I'm in there and I'm like stressed out about stuff. And, everyone's stressed out about something. You have these things going through your head, like some annoying thing. And as he's sort of doing his program with this bowls, the energy's going through me, and like I'd have these annoying thoughts, and it would just pop out of my head and never came back again.
Whoa.
It was like such a cool experience. And I wasn't even going there for a spiritual awakening. Honestly, I was going there for good Instagram pictures. Hey, it is what it is.
2 for 1.
I need that person to live in my garage here with me, so that I feel like I need a daily cleanse or something.
Funny you should mention it. Rashan's next door. She's about to bring him on screen right now.
Hey, I heard him.
Yeah, there he is.
I hired him full time, and now
that's why I'm still working. I just got to pay for this guy.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that was great. I mean, I did something like that in Iceland too in 2015. It was 5 days before, and I'm like, where can I go? And I just went to Iceland.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
You know what I do though? My secret
what
is that I do like the touristy tours.
Yeah.
I didn't do it in Nepal, but like in Iceland, I'm like, ooh, let me do the glacier tour, and like I get on a bus, and
I want to drive a 4x4 over a glacier and do that. Did you go into we were there in 20 17 or 18. Did you do the like into the glacier walk around? Yeah, super cool. Yeah, but you have to.
Yeah.
You're a tourist.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like a lot of people make it seem like, ooh, I got a Jeep and I figure this out myself. No. Where am I going to get these like ice?
Somebody put a wristband on me so I didn't get lost. They put me.
Like, oh, I'm just happen to be carrying an ice pick. No. I'm in the guy's van.
Yeah. Reykjavik's fantastic. Did you do the photo? Yeah, I bet you have the photo of you with the two continents as well. You can see the two plates, the tectonic plates. Did you see? No. Okay.
No, I missed that.
That was another photo op. We've got that one. So
she was in the spa, mate. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I missed that opportunity. I was sorry. I was inside the volcano.
Yeah. My wife was like 7 months pregnant when we were there. She was so miserable, and it was a work trip. But yeah, she was a sport, but yeah, it was
volcanic ash is great for the pregnant people.
I have one thing though. I think the Blue Lagoon is overrated. I left there with very dry skin.
Oh, good. My wife would be delighted to hear that because she couldn't do it because she was pregnant. So, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. No, she's better off. Total gimmick.
Good stuff.
Have you had the equivalent of the drop of a hat go somewhere in the last 2 years during the pandemic?
No. So I've been blocked 3 times by whatever. So first one, I was going on a trip to Thailand. So there was I love vegan food. I was going on a vegan Thailand tour to three cities. It was going to be amazing. Everything was booked. Oh my gosh, April 2020. Pandemic hit, didn't happen. Okay. Following year, my friend who is like a fitness entrepreneur, she had a trip in Mexico, and I had to get a passport renewal. Passport renewal took 4 months with expediting, arrived 5 days after the trip. And then I was supposed to go to Dubai in February, or like last month. Yeah, about a month ago. And, just all kinds of bad things, some terrorist activity in addition to pandemic. And so that trip got canceled. So I'm just kind of like, I haven't been everywhere. I used to go to India and Israel for work every 6 weeks when I worked at Gainsight, because we had our offices were in Tel Aviv and Hyderabad. And then also like the rest of the travels. So it's been an adjustment, but I'm kind of like, something's telling me just maybe to just wait it out a little bit more because it's failed 3 times. So I'm just going to chill.
Maybe just stay in your loft for a while. Yeah.
I'm just going to chill until I'm not going to force it.
Yeah. Makes sense. What about travel in the US though? Have you done like we did a bit of a road trip and some small things, but
where'd you go?
We went to the amazing St. Louis, Missouri. My wife is from St. Louis, so there was a reason to go there. But we drove. It was really cool, actually. We drove for, we would drive on the weekend and stay in Airbnbs on the way so I could work during the week. And we did that in the end of 2020. It was the best trip. It was like a 3-month. Took us like 6 weeks to get there and 6 weeks to get back. It was super. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Prior to that, I hadn't seen any of America, right? So it was kind of my... I was blown away by all of this landscape, so yeah. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing for you if you hadn't been through there.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. No, it was good. We did it the long way as well. We weren't just on the highways the whole time. It was great. I really recommend it. Rami's looking at me like I have 2 heads. What's wrong, Rami?
I like how you prefaced went to St. Louis, Missouri because my wife's parents are there. That's the reason we went. We had a reason, just in case you're wondering.
Well, St. Louis is... St. Louis is, I don't know. Yeah, it's a great spot, but I think once you've done the arch and stuff, and there's, I'm going to have to cut all this out now.
Yeah. I don't know. I still have to go to Miami. I've never been to Miami in my life, which is so weird. But everyone.
I want to go to Miami. I've never been there as well.
Group trip. Let's do it tomorrow.
Plenty of time for that. We can all retire there. It'll be fine. We'll all be there at some stage.
Yeah.
Maybe South Beach isn't the place to retire. Let's do a group trip. Drop of the hat tomorrow.
Let's start a company.
We need a photo. What's our app that we're doing is going to take off? When we do the missed connections on Metro, when that takes off, we'll have our first offsite in Miami.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. It's a deal.
Ciara, is there anything that you wished we talked about tonight that we didn't waffle our way into? I'm conscious of your time, and I'm conscious of all of our bedtimes with mornings and things like that.
No, I don't think we missed anything. No,
Yeah,
but this was a great conversation.
This was a lot of
we've
fun.
Slagged AutoCAD enough, if I'm honest with you. I just don't feel like we've really dug in the heels.
Do you want to do your this or that thing, Rami? Rami has this patented. He asks all our guests this or that questions. You going to do it, Rami?
No, it's your. No. I'm
going to do it.
Yeah.
He was giving me shit before he came on because he's very territorial about this. I've got a couple of quick fire questions for you, Ciara, just to see how you feel about some things. It's only 3 or 4 of them. Here we go. Architecture or coffee?
Coffee.
Box or OneDrive?
I'm gonna plead the fifth here. It's a commodity. They're all the same.
Okay, that's a good answer. 0 to 1 or 1 to 100?
0 to 1.
Marcus or Rami? That's one we always ask.
Both. Come on.
People always say that,
you
but
guys are a commodity. I can't compare.
We're a commodity. We're the same as Box and OneDrive. Who cares?
I can't compare.
You're all the same.
It's been really great talking to you again. I really appreciate you coming on. And I know how busy you are. You've got literally have 2 jobs at the same company. So I appreciate taking the time out of your week. And it's been great.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I watched I watched a couple of these before, and
you still came on.
Your banter good. I don't listen to podcasts, honestly. So I'm like, what are people talking about? Like, why
are people doing podcasts?
I can't imagine why anyone would listen to people just talking. And I have to say that I did not experience that watching this.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks. Ciara.
I think you guys might make it to number 17 in the Irish
after
market.
this episode. Here's hoping.
Up to the right.
Yep, we'll get there.
We'll get there. Really appreciate it.
All right.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Have a great night.
Guys.
Great to meet you. Bye now.
Bye.
I can't believe we didn't make any NPS jokes. Like, would you recommend being on a podcast to your friend? Like, we made 0 NPS jokes. How's that possible?
Because we're not prepared. Because we're on.
I got it. Yeah. I had NPS versus hats just as one.
I flipped it over to you, and you gave me nothing.
No, it's yours. It's yours, mate. It's yours.
It's yours now. I blew it. Everyone will see this now and be like, "Oh, Rami's the king of this or that."